The moment that changes everything, when one quiet moment exposes everything. There are moments in life that don't shout. They don't warn you. They don't give you time to prepare. They arrive quietly, and yet they split your life into before and after. 1 second, everything feels normal. The next second, you see clearly. Not because something new happened, but because something hidden finally showed itself. That's how change really begins. Not with noise, with awareness. A single moment where your heart slows down, your mind sharpens, and you realize this is not just an event. This is a turning point, not a memory to retell, but a line you will never cross the same way again. Let me tell you something most people never admit. Let me tell you something most people never admit. We don't lose because we are weak. We lose because we assume too much. We trust without checking. We relax when we should be watching. Then we call it peace. This isn't about blame. It's about honesty. The kind that stings a little when you hear it. The kind that wakes you up. Because growth never starts with comfort. It starts when someone tells you the truth without softening it. And today, that truth is simple. What you ignore doesn't disappear. It waits. You can be awake and still be asleep. You can open your eyes every morning and still be asleep. You can walk, talk, work, laugh, and still miss what's happening right in front of you. Physical sleep rests the body. Mental sleep shuts down awareness. That's the dangerous one. That's when habits replace thinking. When trust runs on repeat. When you stop checking because nothing bad happened last time. But life doesn't warn you before it changes. It tests what you stop paying attention to. Comfort feels safe, but comfort can quietly cost you control. Betrayal is not the end. It's the alarm. Betrayal feels like an ending. But it isn't. It's an alarm. It rings to tell you something important. Something you missed. Something you assumed. Something you trusted without limits. Pain is not here to destroy you. It's here to inform you. The moment you see betrayal as information, everything shifts. You stop asking, why me? And start asking, what do I need to see? That's when pain stops owning you. That's when you take your place back. How much was taken while you were still breathing? How much was taken while you were still breathing? Not just money, not just time. How much peace slipped away? How much confidence faded? How many small signs did you excuse because facing them felt uncomfortable? Loss doesn't always arrive as a crash. Sometimes it leaks out slowly, unnoticed, while life keeps moving. That's why this question matters. Because what you don't measure, you keep losing. This is not about revenge. It's about power. This is not about revenge. Revenge burns fast and leaves you empty. This is about power. Real power is quiet. It doesn't rush. It doesn't explode. It understands timing. Weakness reacts. Strength observes. Weakness demands answers. Strength prepares its next move. The moment you stop trying to hurt back and start trying to see clearly, control returns to your hands. And once that happens, nothing ever takes it from you the same way again. Not all betrayals come from enemies. The lie that keeps you unprotected. There is a lie many people live with. And it feels comforting. The lie says danger always comes from outside. From strangers. From unknown faces. From people who look suspicious. That lie feels safe because it lets you relax around the people you know. But that comfort is exactly what lowers your guard. Life rarely attacks from the direction you are watching. It comes from where you feel safest. This isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up. Because believing danger only lives outside keeps you unprotected inside your own circle. The closest people have the easiest access, the closer someone is, the less they have to force their way in. They don't need keys. They already have them. They don't need permission. It was given long ago through trust. That's why inner circles matter. That's where habits form. That's where patterns hide. Strangers test doors. Close people walk through open ones. This truth is uncomfortable because it challenges what we want to believe. But proximity always creates access. And access without limits creates risk. Strangers steal money. Family can steal peace when a stranger steals from you. The loss is clear. You can name it. You can replace it. But when the damage comes from family, it reaches deeper. It affects sleep. It affects focus. It follows you into quiet moments. Money can be earned again. Peace takes longer to rebuild. That's why this kind of betrayal hurts more. Not because of what was taken, but because of who took it. When trust breaks inside the family, it shakes the ground under your feet. When love and boundaries collide, love often tells you to stay open. Boundaries tell you to stay safe. When those two collide, confusion begins. Many people believe setting limits means they don't care. That belief keeps them exposed. Boundaries are not punishment. They are protection. Loyalty does not require self-damage. Respect does not cancel love. You can care deeply and still say no. You can love fully and still protect your space. Strength lives in that balance. A locked door means nothing from the inside. A locked door only works when the threat is outside. When the problem is already inside, the lock is useless. Blind trust creates that situation. Not because trusting is wrong, but because trusting without awareness invites harm. Doors are meant to control access. When everyone has access, there is no control. This is not about fear. It's about clarity. About knowing who should stand where in your life because they knew you, and that was the advantage because they knew you, because you trusted them, because you never thought you had to watch. That knowledge became leverage. And once you see that, you stop blaming yourself and start seeing clearly. That clarity changes everything. The dangerous comfort of being asleep, leap, isn't rest. When it costs you control, sleep sounds peaceful. But not all sleep is rest. Some sleep costs you control. It shows up as comfort, as routine, as nothing bad has happened yet. This kind of sleep doesn't heal you. It weakens awareness. It lowers attention. It convinces you that checking is unnecessary. Comfort feels good, but it can quietly hand your control to someone else. When trust turns into autopilot, trust is healthy until it turns into habit without thought. Autopilot trust skips questions. It skips review. It says, I've always done it this way. Over time, awareness fades. Not because you're careless, but because life gets busy. Days repeat. Patterns settle. And slowly, watching turns into assuming. That's how gaps form. Not all at once. One quiet step at a time. The moment you stopped checking was the moment you gave up power. Think back. When did you stop checking? When did you stop asking? When did you decide everything was fine without proof? That moment matters. Because power lives in attention. The moment attention leaves, control follows. Nothing dramatic happens right away. That's why it's dangerous. Loss often begins long before it is noticed. Awareness feels uncomfortable. Denial feels safe. Awareness asks you to face things early. Denial lets you stay comfortable longer. That's why denial feels easier. But comfort today can cost you stability tomorrow. Awareness doesn't attack you. It prepares you. Avoiding truth doesn't protect you. It delays pain until it grows. Facing truth early keeps damage small. Blind faith is not strength. Belief is powerful. Blind belief is careless. Strength comes from seeing clearly, not from refusing to look. You don't lose faith by paying attention. You protect yourself. Trust should be open-eyed, not closed. Watching does not mean suspecting everyone. It means valuing yourself enough to stay alert. Comfort can be more dangerous than conflict. Conflict is loud. Comfort is quiet. Conflict warns you. Comfort lulls you. That's why comfort can be more dangerous. It puts you to sleep while things shift underneath you. Staying alert doesn't make life harder. It makes it safer. Hearing the truth changes the game. The moment everything suddenly makes sense, there comes a moment when scattered pieces connect. Confusion settles. Silence fills the space. You don't feel shock. You feel clarity. That moment changes you. Not because the truth arrived, but because you finally accepted it. Once things make sense, you can't unsee them. And that clarity brings calm. Truth rarely shouts. It whispers. Truth does not need volume. It shows up in small signs, in pauses, in patterns that repeat. Loud lies distract. Quiet truth waits. That's why many people miss it. They expect truth to crash in. Instead, it stands still and lets you notice it when you're ready. Truth doesn't knock. It leaks. Truth leaks through cracks. A comment that doesn't fit. A behavior that repeats. A feeling you keep pushing away. Over time, those leaks form a picture. You don't need more proof. You need honesty with yourself. Once you allow that, denial loses its grip. The signals you ignored were always there. The signs didn't appear overnight. They were there early. You felt them. You noticed them. Then you explained them away. Not because you were foolish, but because you wanted peace. Letting go of excuses is not self-attack. It's self-respect. Listen carefully. Your instincts were never wrong. Listen carefully. That quiet feeling inside you was never wrong. It spoke softly because it didn't need drama. You didn't lose it. You just talked over it. When you listen again, confidence returns. Not loud confidence. Calm confidence, from victim to decision maker. The moment you accept truth, the role changes. You are no longer stuck in what happened. You are standing in what you will do next. That shift is power. And once it happens, the game is no longer played against you. You are choosing the moves. Why the smile is power, not weakness when the world expects you to break. But you don't. Most people expect pain to look loud. They expect anger, tears, or noise. So when you don't break, it confuses them. When you stay steady, it disrupts what they think strength looks like. The smile in that moment is not surrender. It's refusal. Refusal to give your balance away. Refusal to react on command. Pain does not always need a display. Sometimes strength shows up as calm breathing and steady eyes. When the world expects you to fall apart and you don't, you take control of the moment without saying a word. Calm is not passive. Calm is controlled. Calm is often misunderstood. People think calm means you don't care. That's wrong. Calm means you are choosing how to respond. It means your emotions are not driving you. Stillness is not weakness. It is focus. When your mind is clear, your choices improve. When you stay calm, you decide the pace. You decide the direction. Noise reacts. Calm decides. That difference changes outcomes more than people realize. Loud reactions feel strong. Silent ones actually are. Loud reactions feel powerful because they release pressure fast. But they also give everything away. The moment you explode, others learn where to push. Silence holds information. Silence keeps your options open. When you don't rush to respond, you gain time. And time gives you control. Strength is not measured by volume. It's measured by what you keep to yourself, and when you choose to act. The quietest person is usually holding the sharpest knife. The quietest person in the room is often the one thinking the most. Not plotting, not raging, just observing. Silence sharpens focus. While others rush to speak, the quiet person gathers clarity. That quiet builds pressure. Not fear-based pressure, but steady readiness. When action finally comes, it lands with purpose. Silence doesn't mean empty. It often means prepared. They think silence means fear. It doesn't. People often judge silence quickly. They think if you don't argue back, you're afraid. If you don't explain yourself, you are unsure. That judgment is shallow. Silence can mean you see more than they think. It can mean you don't need approval. Confidence doesn't need defending. When you stop explaining, you stop feeding doubt. And that unsettles people who rely on reactions. I didn't smile because I lost. I smiled because I understood. I didn't smile because I lost. I smiled because I understood. I understood what was happening. I understood what mattered. I understood what came next. That smile was not joy. It was clarity. And once you understand, panic disappears. When clarity arrives, control returns. That's when the balance shifts back into your hands. When you stop reacting, you start leading. Reaction feels powerful until you see the cost. Reaction feels strong in the moment. It feels honest. It feels real. But reactions come with a cost. They shorten your thinking. They narrow your options. They hand your emotions to the situation instead of guiding it. What feels strong at first often leaves regret later. When you see the cost clearly, the urge to react loses its grip. That's when leadership begins. Every emotional reaction hands someone else control. Every time emotions take over, control moves away from you. Someone else sets the tone. Someone else decides the pace. Emotional discipline is not cold. It's protective. It keeps you from being pulled into traps you didn't choose. Control doesn't come from force. It comes from steadiness. When you hold your response, you hold your ground. Who benefits when you lose control? Ask yourself this clearly. Who benefits when you lose control? Is it you, or is it the situation? When you react without thinking, someone else gains advantage. When you pause, you regain choice. That single pause changes the balance. Awareness turns chaos into order. Chess players don't flip the board, they wait. In chess, flipping the board ends the game. Waiting wins it. Good players don't rush. They study. They wait for the right moment. Life works the same way. Impulse feels fast, but waiting is precise. Patience is not delay. It is preparation. When you wait, you see more. When you see more, you choose better. Pause before you speak. Power lives in the gap. Space between feeling and response is where control lives. That gap may be short, but it matters. In that space, you decide who you want to be. Speaking too fast fills that gap with regret. Waiting fills it with clarity. The pause protects you from yourself. If you react emotionally, you lose the outcome. This truth is simple. If you react emotionally, you lose the outcome. Not always immediately, but eventually. Emotions fade. Results remain. Leading your life means choosing responses that serve you long after the moment passes. Responsibility. Without guilt. Taking responsibility does not mean beating yourself up. Responsibility is not punishment. It is ownership. Beating yourself up feels productive, but it solves nothing. Growth happens when you learn, not when you shame yourself. You can admit a mistake without attacking your worth. Responsibility lifts you. Guilt drags you down. Knowing the difference changes how you move forward. Shame weakens, responsibility sharpens. Shame clouds thinking. Responsibility clears it. Shame keeps you stuck in the past. Responsibility keeps you focused on what's next. One drains energy, the other builds strength. When you drop shame, your mind sharpens. You stop wasting energy on blame and start using it for progress. Trust wasn't the mistake. Ignoring the signs would have been. Trusting was not the mistake. Trust is human. Ignoring signs would have been. Seeing this clearly restores respect for yourself. You didn't fail by caring. You learned by noticing. That shift matters. It keeps you open without leaving you exposed. You didn't open the door. You just forgot to lock it. You didn't invite harm. You just forgot to lock the door. That's a correction, not a condemnation. Locks exist for a reason. Not because you expect danger everywhere, but because protection matters. Fixing a lock is easier than rebuilding a house. Learn the lesson early. Learn the lesson. Keep the power lessons are meant to be kept, not carried as weight. When you learn, you keep your strength. When you drop guilt, you move forward lighter and clearer. Responsibility, taken calmly, turns experience into wisdom. And wisdom keeps you steady the next time life tests you, reclaiming control. Quietly and completely real power doesn't need an audience. When people think of power, they imagine volume. Raised voices, big gestures, public moments designed to be seen and remembered. But real power doesn't work like that. Real power is quiet. It doesn't need witnesses to validate it. It doesn't need applause to feel real. The strongest shifts in control usually happen in silence inside. Decisions no one else hears, and boundaries no one else sees. Power that requires an audience is usually compensating for something fragile. Power that is real doesn't explain itself. It simply moves, adjusts, and takes its place again. When you stop performing your strength, you start owning it, rebuilding control without drama. There's a moment after disruption where drama feels tempting. Confrontation feels justified. Noise feels earned. But drama is expensive. It burns energy without restoring control. Rebuilding control quietly is a sign of maturity, not avoidance. It means you're focused on outcomes, not emotions. On stability, not spectacle. You don't need to confront every issue loudly to resolve it effectively. Calm action outperforms emotional reaction every time. While others are busy escalating, you're reorganizing. While others are speaking, you're observing. While others are trying to win the moment, you're securing the future. Power moves don't announce themselves. Weak moves need announcements. Strong ones, down single quotes, Power moves happen without press releases. They happen when access changes, when information flow tightens, when decisions become intentional instead of reactive, when you stop explaining yourself to people who were never entitled to explanations in the first place. Silence isn't emptiness, it's containment. And containment is strength. When you move quietly, people can't interfere. They can't. Real repairs happen behind the walls. Cosmetic fixes are public. Real repairs are private. Think about a house. The strongest work doesn't happen on the outside. It happens behind walls, rewiring, reinforcing, correcting foundations no one will ever compliment. But without those hidden repairs, the whole structure eventually collapses. The same is true for your life. Control isn't restored by appearances. It's restored by internal systems, clearer boundaries, stronger decision-making, quieter confidence. You don't need to look strong. You need to be strong where it actually matters. Private action beats public confrontation. Public confrontation feels satisfying, but it rarely produces control. It creates defensiveness, resistance, chaos. Private action is different. It doesn't seek validation. It doesn't provoke reaction. It simply changes the rules quietly and permanently. When you stop arguing and start adjusting, you take your power back. You conserve energy. You reduce exposure. You stay in command. The goal isn't to be understood, it's to be effective. No shouting. No chaos. Just clarity. No shouting. No chaos. Just clarity. Clarity doesn't rush. It doesn't explode. It settles. When you reclaim control quietly, your life stabilizes. Decisions become cleaner. Emotions become manageable. You stop reacting and start directing. The strongest moves are made without witnesses, and once control is back in your hands, You don't need to prove it to anyone. When you're ready, say expand outline 9, or tell me if you want the next one softer, sharper, or built specifically for voiceover pacing. What this teaches about trust, family, and boundaries approximately equals 600 words. Trust is not fixed. It evolves. We're taught to think of trust as permanent. Once given, it's supposed to stay untouched forever. But that idea traps people in guilt. Trust isn't a contract, it's a living agreement. It grows, adjusts, and sometimes narrows based on what people show you over time. Updating trust is not betrayal. It's awareness. You're allowed to recalibrate when new information appears. You're allowed to protect yourself without rewriting the past as a mistake. Trust evolving doesn't mean you were wrong before. It means you're paying attention now. Family. Love does not mean unlimited access. This is where things get uncomfortable. Because family love is often confused with entitlement, love means care. It means concern. It does not mean unrestricted access to your decisions, your finances, your emotions, or your future. Blood doesn't automatically qualify someone to manage your life. Healthy authority starts when you separate affection from permission. You can love deeply and still say no. You can honor family without surrendering control. Love is strongest when it respects boundaries, not when it ignores them. Love doesn't require blindfoldture. As a dangerous belief that love requires ignorance, that noticing problems means you're disloyal, ungrateful, or suspicious. That belief keeps people blind in situations that demand clarity. Love doesn't need blindfolds. Real love survives awareness. It doesn't ask you to ignore patterns or silence instincts. Seeing clearly doesn't make you cold, it makes you responsible. You're not wrong for noticing shifts. You're not disloyal for staying alert. Awareness doesn't kill love. Denial does. Who has access to your life without earning it? This is the question most people avoid. Who hears your plans but hasn't proven support? Who influences your decisions without accountability? Who benefits from your openness without contributing safety or respect? Access should be intentional, not inherited. Every part of your life, your time, trust, energy costs something. If someone hasn't earned that cost, their access needs to change. That's not punishment. That's clarity. Boundaries are not punishment. They are protection. Boundaries don't exist to hurt people. They exist to protect relationships from decay. When boundaries are absent, resentment grows. Confusion grows. Control gets blurred. Boundaries create structure. They define where love can exist without damage. You don't need anger to set them. You don't need speeches. Calm consistency is enough. Boundaries spoken softly but enforced clearly are the most effective kind. 6. Real relationships. Survive boundaries. Here's the truth that settles everything. Relationships that are real survive boundaries. If a relationship collapses the moment you protect yourself, it was built on access, not respect. Boundaries don't destroy love. They reveal whether it was genuine in the first place. What remains after boundaries is what was real all along, the final wake-up call. Never sleep through your own life approximately equals 600 words. This was never about a card. It was about awareness. It was easy to think the moment was about an object, a detail, a transaction, but that was never the lesson. The real message was awareness. Seeing clearly, noticing what others hoped you'd overlook. This wasn't about loss, it was about waking up before something greater could be taken. Awareness is what changes everything. Once you see, you can't unsee. And once you're awake, you don't live the same way again. Sleeping is a choice. Awareness is a discipline. No one stays aware by accident. It's a practice. Sleeping through life is easy. It requires no effort. You trust by default. You assume. You drift. Awareness, on the other hand, takes discipline. It means observing without panic. listening without reacting, staying present even when it's uncomfortable. This isn't about fear. It's about responsibility. Awareness isn't paranoia, it's ownership. Stay aware of patterns, not promises, of behavior, not words, of consistency, not charm. Awareness doesn't rush to conclusions. It watches. It waits. It gathers information calmly. When you stay aware, you stop being surprised by outcomes. You start anticipating them. Stay calm is not weakness. Calm is mastery. When emotions spike, control drops. Calm keeps you centered while others lose balance. It allows you to think clearly, act precisely, and choose your responses instead of reacting automatically. Calm's what turns awareness into power. Stay in. Control doesn't mean domination. It means ownership. Ownership of your choices. Ownership of your boundaries. Ownership of your future. When awareness and calm work together, control follows naturally. You stop being pulled by circumstances and start directing them. Wake up, not in fear, but in strength. This is the final call. Wake up not angry, not bitter. Not afraid. Wake up grounded. Wake up clear. Wake up strong, because the moment you're truly awake, nothing can steal from you again, not opportunities, not peace, not even the people closest to you. If you want, next I can tighten the entire 6,000 word script for YouTube voiceover pacing, make a colder, more surgical version, or add a more spiritual undertone without softening the authority. Just tell me the direction.